Guys, last year, obviously, the Chicago Bears did not have quite a very good season, right? They ended up with the number one overall pick, traded it down, and they actually had a fairly good draft. They are building something special over there in Chicago, and MVP, many people have them, catapulting to the top. Not me, guys. I have the Bears finishing the season 7-10 this year. That's right, 7-10 this year, and that is last place again in the NFC North. Very much improvement, right? 3-4 game improvement from last season. But as we break down the games here, their schedule is favorable, right? But it is honestly low-key, kind of a lot of trap games in there. Week 1, they're at home versus the Green Bay Packers. I actually have them losing this game because I just don't think they're ready to beat the Packers yet. Jordan Love is going to be playing out of his mind. And yes, usually the first quarter of the season, it is a defensive battle, and I think the Packers have a better defense. Week number 2, they travel to Tampa Bay to take on Baker Mayfield or Kyler Trask and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I had the Bucs winning that game. Then they travel to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. They're not beating the Chiefs this year. I don't see it happening. Yes, the Chiefs normally skate through the first quarter of the season, kind of get their bearings, and this is a very good chance for an upset, but I just don't see it happening. And then finally, week 4, the Denver Broncos come into town, and the Chicago Bears finally get their first win of the season. Then week 5, Thursday night game, they travel to Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, to take on the Washington Redskins, Commanders, Red Tails, football team, whatever you want to call them, but they lose to Washington. Unfortunately, the Commanders are just not going to be that good. Week number 6, they're back at home, take on the Vikings. The Vikings win that game. So right now, guys, they're sitting at 1-5. 1-5, not doing so good. But then the season kind of gets turned around a little bit. They beat the Raiders week 7. They go to LA. They beat the Chargers week 8. And then they travel to New Orleans and they lose to the Saints. Week 10, they're back home. I believe this is this is a Thursday night game, but I believe, is that Thanksgiving? No, it's not Thanksgiving. But they beat the Panthers at home because it's Thursday night, whatever, right? Week 11, they travel to Detroit, lose that game. They beat the Vikings going into the bye week. And with that being said, we have to drop up this Tom. He already jumped in the chat and says, you don't know much. I know a lot, Tom. What are you upset about, Tom? Are you saying that the Bears are better than 7-10? Are you saying that the Packers are going to lose or beat? The Packers are going to lose to the Bears week 1. What don't I know, Tom? What are you upset about? Let me know, man. I am curious. We can have a healthy discussion right here on Man Hour. After the bye week, week 14, the Lions travel to Chicago to Soldier Field, and the Bears do win that game. Then we get into the Saturday games, right? The Bears travel to Cleveland. Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns, the biggest wild card in the NFL. Is Watson going to be a shell of himself, or is he going to return back to his MVP caliber form? I don't know. It doesn't matter. The Browns have a really good team. Week 16, the Cardinals travel to Soldier Field. Cardinals are going to sneak out a win or 2 or 5. They're not going to be 0-17. And I think they snugged the Bears on this one. Giving us a week 17 matchup with the Falcons coming to Soldier Field. The Bears get on track to get their 7th win of the season, and wrapping up the season at Lambeau Field versus the Green Bay Packers to give them a 10th loss of the season, giving them 7-10, worst in the NFC North. Much improved from last season. These are not going to be blowout games. These are all going to be very close games. But the Bears are just not ready to win those close games yet. The ball is not ready to bounce their way yet. Justin Fields is going to be much improved, right? The whole offense the offense in general is going to be much improved. The defense is going to take a couple steps back this season. I don't think they did enough to address some of their defensive needs. So we'll see how they do that moving forward.